In the Islamic faith tradition, neither euthanasia nor assisted suicide are supported or encouraged. However, since that matter has already been decided by the Supreme Court, our concerns and recommendations regarding Bill C14 center around three things. So safeguarding interests of patients in distress, minimizing errors, and conscience protection for healthcare providers and faith-based facilities. We are also very concerned about the protection of conscience rights of healthcare providers and faith-based facilities. Conscience rights should be given the same level of importance as the patient's right to seek assistance in dying. In our view, the level of disengagement from assisted death should be at the discretion of individual healthcare providers and faith-based care facilities, and should be publicly disclosed to would-be patients. This should be specified in the bill.
I want to talk specifically with respect to conscience rights to begin with. Now, we've heard testimony from other witnesses who have indicated that there is a coroner's report, and they've asked that the coroner's reports be something that becomes mandatory, and the cause of death that's outlined in the coroner's report, it's not always, as it is right now, it's not mandated to be listed as medical assistance in dying. Do you think, and I just want the religious perspective on it, do you think that the cause of death as suicide, in essence, is something that that families that have faith-based families, would that be something they'd be comfortable with?
It could certainly be something that perhaps could be troubling for some. Of course, there's different views and different levels of comfort that people of different faiths have with regard to suicide. So if a family finds out that the autopsy or the coroner's report shows that the death was by suicide, it could certainly put them in a situation that they may find to be uncomfortable, for sure.
Would it be hurtful to families then, dealing with not only the loss of a loved one, but then also to deal with the negative connotations in society as a whole, perhaps?
Certainly, I believe so. That again, certain different communities and different groups will, I think, see suicide in different ways. And if that becomes something which is known and public, and the family finds out, or friends, relatives, and other members of the community find out, then it could certainly be hurtful to the family.
Now, do you see, and this is open to all three witnesses to comment on, do you see that the provinces would be able to come up with a consistent approach, specifically self-regulation of doctors? Would they be able to then ensure that those physicians or medical practitioners that do not want to partake in the administration of death, would the self-regulated bodies be able to take ownership of that piece and make sure that everybody's conscience rights are protected?
Sure. I think what's making health practitioners, medical professionals of faith quite nervous is this uncertainty of not knowing how it's going to actually play out. As far as the patient's rights are concerned with regard to assisted dying, yes, the bill is there and everything seems to be quite clear. But when it comes to the rights of conscience, it's not very clear. We're already hearing complaints from doctors in Quebec talking about how they're feeling pressured, or even we heard one case where there was talk of sanctions against a doctor who's not willing to give an effective referral. So I think that's just really troubling, to the point where there's actually doctors who are even considering leaving the profession, or the fact that they might have to leave if it doesn't play out to their satisfaction. So I appreciate the efforts that the government may be planning to make, but I think there should be a lot more clarity at this point with regards to this matter.